I'll pay you $1 million if you can read this Spanish document. Victor Langford's voice boomed across the crystal ballroom, sharp and mocking, the words slicing through the hum of champagne flutes and celebrity laughter like a blade. He held the yellowed parchment high, letting the chandelier light catch its frayed edges, turning it into a prop for his private circus. The crowd, tuxedos, gowns, red carpet glow, leaned in, already smirking. Victor's gaze dropped to the small figure half hidden behind a maid's black uniform. Maya Thompson, 7 years old, braids neat, eyes huge. He laughed once, short, cruel. You, the little one in the corner. Come on up here, sweetheart. Let's see if the maid's daughter is smarter than she looks. Gasps, titters, phones rising like vultures. Lena Thompson's hand shot out, fingers closing around Maya's wrist hard enough to bruise. Sir, she's just a child. Victor cut her off with a wave, smile widening. Exactly. Perfect. $1 million. Cash. Right now. If she can read this old Spanish trash no one else has cracked in 200 years, or are you scared she'll embarrass you? The room tilted, every eye locked on the tiny girl in the maid's shadow. Maya looked up at her mother, long, searching, then gently pulled her hand free. She stepped forward. The marble floor echoed under her small shoes. Victor crouched slightly, dangling the document like bait. Go ahead, kid. Impress Daddy. Maya took the parchment. Her fingers didn't shake. She looked at the first line. Then she looked straight into Victor's eyes and, in a voice clear as glass, she began. En el nombre de su majestad católica, el rey Carlos III. The laughter died. Every phone in the room froze midair. The words kept coming. Perfect, rolling, ancient Spanish, falling from a 7-year-old's lips like she'd been born speaking it. Victor's smile cracked at the edges. He didn't know it yet, but the room already belonged to her. Before we continue, I want to speak to you for a moment. If stories like this remind you that kindness still exists, if they make you feel something real in a world that's getting louder and colder, then I'd love to have you here with us. This channel isn't just videos. It's a tiny corner of the internet where good people come together, where we believe in second chances, in hope, and in humanity. And right now, you're early. You're part of the very first people building this family with me. So if you want to grow with us, if you want more stories that touch your heart, go ahead and subscribe. It's free, it supports the channel more than you know, and it tells me that there are still people out there who believe in kindness just as much as I do. If you have subscribed to this channel, I can officially say, welcome to the family. The crystal ballroom at the Beverly Hilton glittered like a fever dream, chandeliers dripping light, champagne towers catching every flash from 100 phones, red carpet stragglers still posing for Instagram even though the official premiere had ended hours ago. Waitstaff in crisp black moved like shadows between the power players. Producers with earpieces, actors pretending not to notice the cameras, tech billionaires who bought their way into rooms like this one. Lena Thompson was one of the shadows. She wore the standard issue black maid uniform, skirt just long enough, apron starched, name tag pinned straight. She was wiping down a high-top table near the service doors when the sitter texted, "Sorry, emergency at home. Can't make it." Lena had stared at the screen for 3 full seconds before slipping her phone back into her pocket. No choice. Maya was already in the car, buckled in, clutching her favorite library book about ancient languages. "Just stay quiet, baby," Lena had whispered as they walked through the employee entrance. "Sit in the corner by the kitchen doors. We'll be home by midnight." Maya had nodded solemnly, eyes wide at the glamour leaking through the cracked service door. Now she sat on a folding chair someone had dragged over, legs swinging, book open on her lap but unread. She watched the room the way a child watches a movie she's too young for, quiet, absorbing, noticing everything. Victor Langford noticed her. He was mid-brag near the center bar, surrounded by a loose circle of influencers and minor celebrities. His voice carried the way rich men's voices always do, loud enough to command attention without trying. "And this one," he said, pulling a yellowed parchment from an elegant leather portfolio, came straight out of a private Spanish archive, 780s mission-era land grant. Nobody's cracked the full script in decades. Archaic legalese, coded clauses, pure gold for my collection. He waved it like a flag. I keep saying I'll pay $1 million to anyone who can read it properly. So far, crickets. Laughter rolled through his circle. Someone shouted, "Bet you 100 it's fake." Victor grinned. "Double or nothing if you can prove it." His eyes scanned the room for volunteers, landed on the small black girl in the corner beside the service doors. The maid's daughter. Perfect. He raised his voice, theatrical now. "Hey, you, little one, come here." Heads turned. Lena froze mid-wipe, rag dripping onto her shoe. Maya looked up. Victor walked over, portfolio under his arm, smile wide and sharp. The crowd followed like a tide. "You look like you can read," he said, crouching slightly so he was eye level with her. "How about it? $1 million. Cash. If you can read this old Spanish trash no one else has touched in 200 years. The room rippled. Gasps, chuckles, phones lifting. Lena dropped the rag and moved fast, stepping between them. "Sir, she's 7. She's not part of—" Victor didn't look at Lena. He kept his eyes on Maya. "7's old enough to know a good deal when she hears one. Right, sweetheart?" Maya stared at the parchment. The edges were frayed, ink faded, but still legible to someone who knew what to look for. She'd spent nights in their Inglewood apartment tracing letters from old family Bibles. Spanish mixed with English. Stories her grandmother used to tell about ancestors who crossed borders with nothing but words. She looked up at her mother. Lena's face was a storm, fear, fury, helplessness. Maya gently pulled her hand free. "I'll try," she said. The words landed soft, but they cut the laughter dead. Victor straightened, amused. "Atta girl." He handed her the document. Maya took it carefully, both hands like it was one of her library books. She scanned the first line. Then she looked straight into Victor's eyes and began. "En el nombre de su majestad católica, el rey Carlos III, nuestro Señor, y por la gracia de Dios." Her voice was small at first, then clear, steady, rolling the ancient Castilian like she'd spoken it every day of her life. "In the name of His Catholic Majesty, King Charles III, our Lord, and by the grace of God." A woman in a silver gown inhaled sharply. Phone zoomed in. Maya turned the page. "Se concede a don Felipe de Neve, gobernador de la provincia de las Californias, y a los pobladores fieles del pueblo de Nuestra Señora, la reina de los ángeles del río de Porciúncula, las tierras comprendidas entre el río y las colinas al sur." She translated without pausing, eyes moving smoothly. "There is granted to don Felipe de Neve, governor of the province of the Californias, and to the faithful settlers of the Pueblo of Our Lady, the Queen of the Angels of the Porciuncula River, the lands bounded between the river and the hills to the south." Victor's smile twitched. Maya kept going, finger tracing Adens Claus. "Con la condición expresa de que se respeten los derechos de los indios gentiles y neófitos, que no se les despoje de sus rancherías, ni se les obligue a trabajo sin justo pago, bajo pena de nulidad del título y devolución de las tierras a los verdaderos dueños." Her voice softened, almost reverent. "With the express condition that the rights of the Gentile and neophyte Indians be respected, that they not be dispossessed of their rancherias nor compelled to labor without just payment, under penalty of nullity of the title and return of the lands to the true owners." The room was silent now. Not polite quiet, dead quiet. A producer near the bar whispered, "That's the original Pueblo grant language. My firm's got active disputes over those boundaries." Maya reached the margin notes, faded almost to nothing. She tilted her head. "This part says Thompson de Los Angeles in the grantee list," she said casually, like she was pointing out a misspelled word in a picture book. "That's my grandma's maiden name." Lena's hand flew to her mouth. Victor's face drained of color. Maya finished the final cipher line. "Y en las sombras de las palmas y bajo las estrellas del sur, se guarda la promesa de que si el olvido cae sobre los primeros guardianes, la tierra volverá a quienes la cuidaron desde el principio, para que la justicia no se pierda en el tiempo." She lowered the parchment. "And in the shadows of the palms and under the stars of the south, The promise is kept that if forgetfulness falls upon the first guardians, the land shall return to those who cared for it from the beginning, so that justice is not lost in time. Silence. Then explosion. Applause, shouts, flashes. Victor stood frozen, mouth open. Someone yelled, "Pay the kid!" He pulled out his phone with shaking fingers, wired the million right there, live on a dozen stories. But the damage was already spreading. Maya handed the document back. "I read it," she said simply. Victor stared at her like she'd just pulled the pin on a grenade. He didn't know it yet, but the clauses she'd translated weren't just history. They were enforceable, and they could unravel his entire $500 million downtown redevelopment before ground was even broken. The ballroom belonged to a 7-year-old girl now, and the internet was about to make sure the whole world knew it. The drive home from the Beverly Hilton felt longer than the distance. Lena kept both hands tight on the wheel of their old Honda Civic, knuckles pale against the cracked leather. Maya sat in the back, seatbelt snug, the library book still open on her lap, even though the dome light was off. Outside, the 405 freeway blurred past, headlights streaking white and red, the city lights of Los Angeles smearing into one long glow. Neither of them spoke for the first 10 minutes. Then Maya's small voice broke the quiet. "Mommy, did I do something bad?" Lena glanced in the rearview mirror. Maya's eyes were huge, reflecting the passing street lamps. "No, baby," Lena said, voice thick. "You did something brave. Something most grown-ups would never have the courage to do." Maya nodded slowly, like she was filing the answer away. They pulled into their Inglewood Street just after 1 a.m. The small bungalow looked smaller than usual under the sodium streetlight, peeling paint on the porch, chain-link fence sagging at one corner, the eviction notice still taped to the front door like a scar. Lena ripped it down before Maya could see the red ink. Inside, the apartment smelled like yesterday's rice and Lena's favorite lavender candle. Maya kicked off her shoes by the door the way she always did, then sat cross-legged on the living room rug and opened her book again. Lena sank onto the couch, phone already buzzing nonstop. Notifications stacked like bricks. TMZ, billionaire Victor Langford, humiliated by 7-year-old maid's daughter, or was she coached? Twitter trending, Chumjirer $1,000,000 Maya. Instagram reels, clips of Maya reading the document, slowed down with dramatic music overlays. Text from Lena's cousin, "Girl, your baby just broke the internet. Call me." Lena scrolled, heart pounding. Victor's camp had moved fast. A leaked exclusive claimed Maya had been fed the translation by a disgruntled ex-employee looking to sabotage him. Another article quoted an anonymous source close to Langford, saying the girl was clearly rehearsed, probably for clout. A third piece dug up Lena's old cleaning job history and framed it as opportunistic parenting. The comments were worse. Some were vicious, racial slurs, accusations of welfare fraud, memes photoshopping Maya into con artist poses. Others were protective, indigenous activists reposting the translation with captions like, "This child just reminded us who really owns this land." Housing organizers in Boyle Heights shared stories of Victor's evictions, linking them to the very clauses Maya had read aloud. By morning, the hashtag had hit 50 million views. Lena turned off her phone and looked at Maya, who was still reading quietly. "We're going to be okay," Lena whispered, more to herself than her daughter. The next afternoon, KTLA called. They wanted Maya for a live segment to set the record straight. Lena almost said no, but Maya looked up from her cereal bowl. "I want to talk, Mommy. They're saying things that aren't true." Lena's stomach twisted. She agreed. The KTLA studio in Hollywood smelled like coffee and hairspray. Bright lights, multiple cameras, a green screen behind the anchor desk. Maya wore her favorite yellow sundress, the one with the tiny sunflowers. Lena sat just off camera, arms crossed tight. The anchor, a polished woman named Carla Reyes, smiled warmly. "Maya, thank you for joining us. A lot of people are talking about what happened at the Beverly Hilton. Can you tell us, in your own words, what went down?" Maya sat up straight. "A man said he'd give me $1,000,000 if I could read his old paper. I read it. Then he gave me the money." Carla leaned in. "And now Mr. Langford's team says you were coached. They even sent over what they call a counter document, A supposed original that contradicts what you read. Would you take a look? A producer slid a fresh sheet across the desk. Maya took it carefully. She scanned the lines. Then she looked straight into the camera. This isn't the same paper, she said. Carla blinked. How can you tell? Maya pointed to the first paragraph. The greeting is wrong. It says Su Excelencia instead of Su Majestad. That word didn't get used for kings until much later. And look, she tapped a signature line. This date is 1792, but the ink looks too black. Old ink turns brown. This is new. The anchor's smile faltered. Maya kept going. And here, she flipped to the second page. This clause about modern redevelopment rights, that phrase didn't exist in Spanish until the 20th century. Someone copied it from today's real estate contracts. Carla stared. You're saying this document is fake? Maya nodded. I think so. The real one, the one from the party, had the right words. This one is trying to hide what the real one said. Off camera, Lena's hand flew to her mouth. The control room scrambled. Cut to split screen. Victor Langford's office downtown, him watching the feed on a monitor. His face went gray. Maya wasn't finished. She looked at Carla again. The man said nobody could read his paper, but I did. And now he's mad because the paper said things he didn't want people to know. Like how some land was taken from people who were here first. Like how my grandma's family name was on it. Carla swallowed. Maya, thank you. The segment ended. Within minutes, Twitter exploded. Forged by Victor trended. Screenshots of Maya's finger pointing at the fake signature circulated like wildfire. Then the second blow landed. An anonymous account, EI Truth, in the margins, dropped a thread of internal emails from Victor's company. Screenshots showed him writing to his CFO 2 years earlier. Keep that mission grant buried. If it surfaces, it kills the downtown deal. Pay the archivist whatever it takes to call it inconclusive. Another email. The kid's translation is accurate. We can't let this stand. The whistleblower's final line. Thank you to a brave 7-year-old who reminded us what history actually says. Someone who couldn't stay silent anymore. Victor's stock dipped 8% by close of trading. Lena turned off the TV. Maya was curled on the couch, book open again. Lena sat beside her, pulled her close. You okay? Baby? Maya nodded against her shoulder. I just told the truth, Mommy. Lena kissed the top of her head. And sometimes the truth makes people very angry. Outside, Inglewood hummed. Car horns, distant music. Neighbors talking on porches. Inside, mother and daughter sat in the quiet. The world was watching now, and it wasn't laughing anymore. The envelope arrived 3 days after the KTLA segment, thick cream paper, embossed with the gold seal of the Langford Foundation, hand-delivered by a courier in a black SUV who didn't make eye contact. Lena opened it at the kitchen table while Maya colored quietly beside her. Crayons spread like a rainbow battlefield. Inside, a single sheet of letterhead. Dear Ms. Thompson and Maya, in recognition of Maya's remarkable demonstration of intellectual talent, the Langford Foundation is pleased to offer a $2 million educational scholarship trust to be administered until Maya reaches the age of 21. Funds may be used for private schooling, tutoring, university, and related expenses. In exchange, we kindly request execution of the attached non-disclosure agreement and a brief public statement clarifying that the events at the Beverly Hilton were an informal demonstration, not a binding legal challenge. We believe this generous offer serves everyone's best interests. Sincerely, Victor Langford, Chairman and CEO. Lena read it twice. Then she folded the letter neatly and placed it in the center of the table like evidence. Maya looked up from her drawing, a little girl holding a glowing book under a starry sky. What does it say, Mommy? Lena exhaled slowly. It says, Mr. Langford wants to give you a lot of money, but only if you promise never to talk about what really happened. Maya tilted her head. Like when people say, don't tell after they do something wrong. Lena's throat tightened. Exactly like that. Maya went back to coloring. I don't want his money if I have to lie. Lena reached over and smoothed one of Maya's braids. Neither do I, baby. The press conference was scheduled for the next Saturday. Griffith Observatory parking lot, panoramic view of Los Angeles behind them, cameras ready, Victor's team framing it as a generous resolution to a misunderstanding. Lena almost canceled, but Maya looked at her with those steady eyes. "I want to go, Mommy. I want to tell them the truth myself." So they went. The morning was bright, the kind of California sun that makes everything look like a movie set. Reporters clustered near the observatory steps. Victor arrived in a black Escalade, flanked by 2 assistants and a PR woman in a sharp blazer. He wore a navy suit, no tie, casual power. Maya wore her yellow sundress again. Lena held her hand the entire time. Victor stepped to the podium first, smile practiced. "Today we're here to celebrate young talent. Maya Thompson showed extraordinary ability, and we want to support her future. The Langford Foundation is proud to offer—" Maya stepped forward before he finished. She didn't wait for permission. She walked right up to the microphone. Too short, so an assistant hurried to adjust the stand. Victor's smile flickered. Maya looked straight into the cameras. "My mommy says if something is true, you don't have to pay someone to stop talking about it." The reporters froze. Victor's jaw tightened. Maya continued, voice clear and calm. "The paper I read said the land belongs to the people who took care of it first. It said if people forget, the land has to go back. That's the truth. I won't say it was just a game or a misunderstanding, because it wasn't." She looked at Victor. "You promised $1 million if I could read it. I did. You paid. That's all." Silence. Then the questions erupted. Victor tried to interject. "This is exactly why we're offering," but the clip was already cutting across every platform. Maya's line, "If something is true, you don't have to pay someone to stop talking about it," became an instant soundbite. Memes flooded Twitter. TikTok duets layered it over dramatic music. By evening, "Truth No Price" hit 1.2 million posts. Victor's PR team scrambled to spin it as refreshing honesty. It didn't work. That night, Lena's phone rang. A retired journalist named Carla Hayes, formerly of the LA Times, now freelance, had been watching the story unfold. "I've been digging into Langford's land deals for years," Carla said. "Your daughter just gave me the missing piece. Can we talk?" They met the next day at a quiet coffee shop in Leimert Park. Carla brought files, old court records, tribal land claims, emails from whistleblowers inside Victor's company. "His whole downtown project sits on questionable titles," she explained. "The document Maya read, it's the smoking gun. If it's authenticated, entire blocks could be subject to reversion clauses." Lena listened, heart pounding. Carla slid a folder across the table. "I've also got contacts with the Gabrielino Tongva Tribal Council. They want to meet Maya, not to use her, just to thank her." The next weekend, Maya and Lena drove to a small community center in Boyle Heights. About 20 people waited. Elders, young activists, parents with kids Maya's age. An elder woman named Rosa stepped forward, gray hair braided long, eyes kind. "We watched your video," she said. "You spoke words our people have waited generations to hear read aloud again." Maya looked up. "I just read what was there." Rosa smiled. "Sometimes that's the bravest thing." They sat in a circle on folding chairs. Maya listened more than she spoke. When a boy her age asked, "How do you know so many old words?" she answered simply, "My mommy reads to me, and I listen to the stories the words want to tell." Afterward, Maya asked Lena if they could do something like that at home. So they started story circles in the small park down the street from their house. Every Saturday afternoon, kids from the neighborhood came. Some Black, some Latino, some mixed. Maya brought books from the library, bilingual ones, picture dictionaries, old folk tales. They sat in a loose ring on blankets, reading aloud, switching languages mid-sentence, laughing when words tripped them up. Lena watched from the bench, phone in hand, fielding calls from more journalists, more activists, even a city council aide. Then the letter came. California State Archives. Following public interest and expert review, the document formerly in the possession of Victor Langford has been reclassified as a protected cultural artifact under Section 5097(9) of the Public Resources Code. Private ownership is no longer permissible. Mr. Langford is ordered to surrender the item within 72 hours for transfer to the state archives and tribal consultation. A hearing was set at City Hall, open to the public. Lena stared at the paper. Maya peeked over her shoulder. Are we in trouble? Lena pulled her close. No, baby. They're finally listening. City Hall chambers smelled like old wood and fresh coffee. Rows of wooden benches filled fast. Reporters, activists, tribal representatives, curious Angelenos. Victor sat at the front table, flanked by 3 lawyers in $1,000 suits. He looked smaller than he had at the Hilton. Maya and Lena sat near the back, Maya in her yellow dress again. The presiding official, a stern woman named Judge Elena Marquez, called the session to order. Mr. Langford, your counsel may speak. One of the lawyers stood. Your Honor, my client acquired this artifact through legitimate private channels. Reclassification is premature and constitutes unlawful seizure. Judge Marquez raised a hand. We'll hear from the child who authenticated it first. Maya walked to the front alone. Lena's heart hammered so loud she was sure the whole room could hear it. Maya stood on a small riser so she could reach the microphone. She looked out at the sea of faces. Then she spoke. I read the paper because a man asked me to. It said the land has to go back to the people who took care of it if people forget. I didn't make that up. The words were already there. She paused. I think forgetting is the worst thing you can do to a story, because once you forget, you start thinking the land belongs to whoever has the most money. But it doesn't. It belongs to the people who loved it first. Silence. Judge Marquez leaned forward. Thank you, Maya. She turned to Victor's table. Mr. Langford, the state has reviewed the document and concurs with the child's translation. It is hereby reclassified. You will surrender it by close of business tomorrow. Victor's lawyer started to protest. The judge cut him off. This is not a negotiation. Victor stared straight ahead. His hands were clenched on the table. Maya walked back to Lena. Lena wrapped her arms around her daughter. The hearing ended. Outside City Hall, sunlight poured down the steps. A crowd waited. Reporters, supporters, kids holding signs that read, Maya told the truth. Maya looked up at her mother. Did I help? Mommy? Lena kissed her forehead. You did more than help, baby. You woke everybody up. The invitation arrived in a matte black envelope sealed with red wax. No return address, just the embossed crest of the Los Angeles Historic Preservation Society. Inside, a single card. Mr. Victor Langford cordially invites Maya Thompson and Guardian to the annual Preservation Gala at the Beverly Hilton Crystal Ballroom. Theme, Legacy Reclaimed. Special presentation to follow. Lena stared at it for a long minute. Maya peeked over her shoulder while eating cereal at the kitchen table. Is that the same place? Lena nodded slowly. He wants us back there. Maya stirred her spoon in the bowl. Why? Lena set the card down. Because he thinks he can control the story this time. They almost didn't go, but 2 days later, a courier delivered a second package, smaller, heavier. Inside, a velvet pouch containing a single rolled scroll tied with black ribbon, a handwritten note on Langford letterhead, one final artifact, untouchable, double or nothing, $2 million if she can read it correctly, publicly, at the gala, no rehearsals, no preparation. Prove it was luck the first time. Lena's hands shook as she read it. Maya touched the scroll gently. I'll go, Mommy, not for the money, for the people who are watching. Lena looked at her daughter, 7 years old, already carrying the weight of a city's attention. She called Carla Hayes. The retired journalist answered on the first ring. You're not seriously considering? We are, Lena said, but we're not going alone. The night of the gala arrived like a storm that had been gathering for weeks. The Beverly Hilton's Crystal Ballroom looked exactly as it had the first time. Chandeliers blazing, tables draped in white linen, string quartet playing softly. But the air felt different, thicker, electric. Outside, a crowd had gathered, hundreds strong. Signs bobbed in the evening light. Return the land. Maya told the truth. Langford's legacy, theft. Chants rolled in waves against the glass doors. Security had doubled, but the protesters weren't leaving. Inside, the room was packed. Council members, tribal elders, museum curators, celebrities who had suddenly discovered heritage as a cause. Phones were out before anyone even sat down. Victor waited at the head table, navy suit impeccable, smile fixed. He rose when Maya and Lena entered. The room hushed. He stepped to the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, voice smooth, "tonight we celebrate history, and tonight we settle a question once and for all." He gestured to Maya. "Our young friend has been invited to examine one final piece from my private collection, a scroll sealed since the 1840s. If she can read it, accurately, publicly, I will double the original offer. $2 million. No strings." He held up the scroll. Maya walked forward. No hesitation. Lena stayed at the edge of the stage, arms crossed, eyes never leaving her daughter. Maya took the scroll, unrolled it carefully under the spotlight. She scanned the first lines. Then she began. "En el año de nuestro Señor 1848, yo, don Esteban Langford y Mendoza, confieso haber adquirido por medios no legítimos las tierras comprendidas entre el río y la misión de San Gabriel." Her voice carried, small, clear, unflinching. "In the year of our Lord 1848, I, Don Esteban Langford y Mendoza, confess to having acquired by illegitimate means the lands between the river and the Mission San Gabriel." Victor's smile froze. Maya continued. "Mediante engaño a los herederos indígenas y falsificación de sellos reales, para asegurar el control perpetuo de la familia Langford sobre dichas tierras, ocultando la verdad bajo capas de tinta y tiempo. By deceiving the indigenous heirs and forging royal seals, to secure perpetual control of said lands for the Langford family, concealing the truth beneath layers of ink and time." Gasps rippled through the room. Maya's finger traced a signature at the bottom. "This is signed Esteban Langford y Mendoza," she said. "That's your great-great-grandfather, Mr. Langford." Victor's face drained white. Maya looked up at him. "The scroll admits the land was stolen. It says the family knew, and it says the truth would come back someday." She rolled the scroll closed. The silence was deafening. Then the ovation began. Slow at first, one person clapping, then another, then the entire room rising. Tribal elders stood first. Council members followed. Even some of Victor's own donors joined in. Victor turned. He walked off the stage without a word. Security parted for him. He didn't look back. Outside, the chants grew louder. Inside, phones captured every second. Before the applause died, Judge Elena Marquez stepped to the podium, unannounced, uninvited. She held up a folded document. "By emergency order of the California State Archives and the Attorney General's office, all artifacts in Mr. Langford's private collection are hereby seized as potential cultural patrimony under violation of heritage protection statutes. The scroll just read is now evidence in an ongoing investigation into fraudulent conveyance and title laundering." She looked directly at the cameras. "This is not personal. This is accountability." The room erupted again. Cheers, whistles, tears. Lena rushed forward and pulled Maya into her arms. Maya buried her face in her mother's shoulder. Lena whispered against her braids, "You did it, baby. You made them listen." Victor's empire didn't collapse overnight, but it began to unravel that night. By morning, his stock had plummeted 22%. Lawsuits from displaced families in Boyle Heights and South LA were already being filed, citing the very clauses Maya had first translated. Tribal councils issued formal claims. Investors pulled out. Partners distanced themselves. He sold the Beverly Hills mansion within weeks. The private jet followed. The last public photo of him showed a man walking alone down a Palm Springs sidewalk. Head down, no entourage. Inside the Crystal Ballroom, after the crowd thinned, Maya and Lena stayed behind. The staff had begun clearing tables. Maya looked up at the chandelier, one last time. "Mommy?" "Yes, baby." "Do you think they'll remember?" Lena knelt so they were eye to eye. "They'll remember because you made them look." Maya nodded slowly. "Then that's enough." Lena hugged her tight. Outside, the protesters were still chanting. But inside, the lights dimmed. And for the first time in weeks, mother and daughter walked out the front doors, not the service entrance. Heads high. No one stopped them. 10 years passed like pages turning in a book no one expected to finish. Maya Thompson is 17 now. She stands taller than her mother, braids long and woven with tiny beads that catch the light when she moves. Her voice has deepened just enough to carry across rooms without effort, but it still holds the same quiet clarity that once silenced a ballroom full of billionaires. The sign above the new building in Inglewood reads, Voices Remembered Heritage Library and Learning Center. It isn't grand, no marble columns, no gold lettering, just clean brick, wide windows, and a mural on the side wall painted by neighborhood kids, children of every shade holding open books that spill rivers of words into the sky. Inside, the air smells of fresh paper, lemon cleaner, and the faint sweetness of tamales someone always brings on opening days. Maya walks the halls every afternoon after school, checking in on the classes she helped design. Bilingual story time for toddlers, ancestral language workshops for teens, genealogy circles for elders who finally feel safe enough to share what they remember. The program has spread. Echo Park now has a satellite space in an old community church. South LA runs after-school sessions in a repurposed storefront near Florence and Normandy. Funding comes from grants, small donors, and though Maya doesn't advertise it, restitution payments quietly ordered after the Langford case is settled. Lena retired 2 years ago. She still wakes early out of habit, makes coffee the same way she always has. But now she spends mornings reading on the porch or volunteering at the center. The lines around her eyes have softened. The worry that used to live behind them has moved somewhere quieter. They don't talk about the money much anymore. Most of the original million went to the house, paid off, painted fresh, a small garden in the back where Lena grows tomatoes and herbs. The second million, the gala winnings, seated voices remembered. What's left sits in a trust for Maya's future, untouched. One evening in late spring, the center hosts its first major heritage event. The Beverly Hilton, yes, the same Crystal Ballroom, has invited Voices Remembered to present a Legacy Reclaimed program, not as a sideshow, as the main feature. Lena and Maya arrive through the front doors this time. No service entrance, no uniform. Lena wears a deep green dress she bought herself. Maya in a simple white blouse and jeans, hair loose. The ballroom looks smaller than they remember, less intimidating under daytime light streaming through the windows. Tables are set with programs instead of champagne flutes. Tribal drummers warm up in the corner. Elders from the Gabrielino Tongva sit in the front row, smiling when they see Maya. She steps to the podium. No nerves this time, just presence. Thank you for having us, she begins. 10 years ago, right here, I read some old words aloud because a man asked me to. Those words weren't just history, they were promises that had been broken. Tonight, we're here to keep a few of them. She gestures to the screen behind her. A slideshow begins. Photos of kids in story circles, elders sharing oral histories, families reconnecting with lost languages. Maya speaks for 20 minutes. No notes, just truth. When she finishes, the room stands. Not polite applause, real ovation, long, warm, earned. Afterward, in a quiet side room, an assistant hands Maya a plain white envelope. No sender name, the woman says. Just ask that you get this today. Maya opens it. Inside, a single folded sheet, handwritten. Maya, I sold the last of the properties years ago. The money went where it belonged. Reparations, libraries, programs like yours. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. You taught me one thing I couldn't buy. History isn't for sale. It's for remembering. Thank you for not letting me forget. VL. Maya reads it twice. Then she hands it to Lena without a word. Lena scans the lines. Her eyes fill, but she doesn't cry. She folds the letter carefully and slips it into her purse. They walk back into the ballroom together. Outside, the sun is setting over Los Angeles, gold and pink bleeding across the skyline. Maya stops on the steps. Mommy, Lena turns. Do you think he means it? Lena looks at her daughter, tall now, steady, still carrying that same quiet fire. I think he's trying, she says, and sometimes trying is the closest a person gets to sorry. They drive home in silence, the city lights flickering past. Later that night, in their Inglewood living room, Maya sits cross-legged on the rug, the same rug from 10 years ago. She opens an old family Bible her grandmother left her. Inside, pressed between the pages, is a faded letter from her great-great-grandmother, Spanish on one side, English notes scribbled in the margins. Maya reads it aloud, soft, to the empty room. Lena listens from the doorway. When Maya finishes, she closes the book gently. Mommy? Yes, baby. We won more than money, didn't we? Lena crosses the room and sits beside her. She pulls Maya close. We won time, she whispers. Time to remember, time to heal, time to teach. Maya rests her head on Lena's shoulder. Outside, the neighborhood hums, kids laughing down the block, music drifting from an open window, the city breathing steady and alive. Inside, mother and daughter sit in the quiet. The story doesn't end here. It just changes shape. From shock to silence, from silence to listening, from listening to remembering. And remembering, finally, becomes change. The kind that lasts, the kind that doesn't need applause. Just two people on a rug in Inglewood, holding a book full of old words, and the promise to keep reading them aloud. What will you rate this story from 0 to 10? And what part of the world are you watching from? Comment your country below. Let's build a global community rooted in kindness and second chances. If this story moved you, don't forget to subscribe and share it with your friends. Your support brings us closer to our 1K subscriber milestone and inspires us to keep creating more emotional stories of resilience, healing, and Black excellence. Thank you for being part of our journey. Your presence matters more than you know. Hope to see you again.